Hello there. Welcome to Secrets Discovered. I'm your host, Manny Festo. In 2025, the American people find themselves less than satisfied with their financial situations, but perhaps even more so with their social situations. Millions of people have dug in their political trenches to engage in online and in-person altercations over social issues. Today, we'll learn how these financial and social discomforts are not so secretly connected. After the 2008 bank bailouts, where the federal government gave billions of taxpayer dollars to large financial institutions, Americans were left with a lot of questions. Why did the banks get a bailout? Why did the American people get nothing? Why were Americans getting foreclosure notices in the mail while the banks got taxpayer money? This led to the rise of two movements, Occupy Wall Street from the left and the Tea Party movement from the right. Both movements were gaining momentum, and it was making the financial industry scared. When people finally realized that the game is rigged, but the bankers are smarter than you'd know, they turned to an age-old method, divide and conquer. Soon, America would be too distracted by hot-button social issues to ever question the financial system again. Do you think that BlackRock cares about LGBT or race issues? Most would say no. But then why are they one of the main culprits behind a financial program that has been forcing these issues into everything? ESG. You may have heard of it before, and no, it's not the latest hip-hop group. It stands for Environmental Social Governance. Shortly after the bailouts, the banking system pitched it as a cure for our fiscal woes, incentivizing corporations to make sustainable choices that would put our future first. In 2010, wheels set in motion to implement ESG throughout our entire economy. And while it sounds good on the surface, Americans didn't realize they were being offered a Trojan horse. ESG was simply another tool of the banking elite to accomplish their goals of complete economic domination. Now, using an ESG scorecard, these banks began to offer grades to corporations for just how environmentally and socially conscious they were becoming. Simply put, the higher ESG score you achieved, the cheaper loans and more investment funds you received. But the system was intentionally designed to be gamed. Companies like ExxonMobil had very high ESG scores despite being massive environmental polluters. So what was going on? Mega corporations to get higher ESG scores by inserting social issues such as LGBT rights, abortion, or racial politics into their corporate culture or their products. This is why large media giants like the Walt Disney Corporation became ardent political activists, seemingly overnight, pushing transgender characters into children's shows and teaching 4-year-olds about microaggressions. Now, depending on your politics, that's not a bad thing. So why should you care? Because all of this was not done in good faith. While the people creating this type of content are likely true believers in the mission, the corporations were simply trying to game the ESG system to get injections of capital from BlackRock, and at the highest levels, the international bankers who were pushing ESG had a much more nefarious goal. They were using money lending and capital investment to cause social division in America, correctly assuming that if Americans keep fighting amongst themselves, we never question the farce that is our economic system. But no one was prepared for the explosion of ESG activity in 2020. During the pandemic, the banks seized the opportunity to turn up the heat on ESG social engineering. The economy was flatlining and corporations were looking to institutions like BlackRock and Vanguard for help. They began forcing the use of ESG scores to access the trillions of dollars of capital that they sat on. Now people were really up in arms as the pushing of divisive issues into media content reached new heights. Meanwhile, during the pandemic, the Federal Reserve, who controls our money supply, removed the fractional reserve lending ratio. This was a limit put in place that limited the amount of money banks could create via lending. Doing so would pour gasoline on the inflation fire. With this fractional reserve banking limit removed, a bank could theoretically create $1 million out of thin air as a loan based on a $1 deposit. Pushing ESG social engineering to new heights ensured that no one would stop to figure out that the reason your potato chips cost 3 times as much is because the uninhibited creation of money from these lending institutions. With all that being said, what can Americans do about all of this?